Hey guys, welcome back to another What If. Today we're doing part 2 to What If Naruto was raised by dragons. If you want to know what happened in the last part, there's a link in the description down below which will take you to a playlist where you can watch the previous part 1 and any other future part that gets added into this What If series. Also guys, as you've probably noticed, this is on the shorter side, and the reason will, if I remember, will be at the end of the What If. So if you want to know, you can either sit through the entire What If or just skip to the end to know why it's short. Anyway, without way, let's get into this. So we'll be leaving off about where we left off. So about 2 weeks. Yes, 2 weeks would go by as today would be Naruto's first day in the academy, yet he was, of course, 8. The main reason why was because he'd been for the past 8 years of his life in the kind of care of the Dragon Clan, and more specifically the Dragon Clan sages. And yeah. Anyway though, the reason why it hadn't, or at least it was obviously like 2 weeks until the literal start of the academy again, but also during those 2 weeks, besides from a week of getting used, besides from the first week of mainly just getting used to his apartment, which would be a much newer apartment than the one he got in canon, because that one would probably be occupied by some civilians, or maybe even Sasuke, due to the fact that the Chain Massacre would still happen, and it may even happen a year sooner due to Naruto not being there to take some of their hatred. After all, some of the a good chunk of the probably villagers did somewhat dislike Naruto due to holding the Nine Tails when that got out. So yeah. Anyway, so Sasuke will be made an orphan potentially sooner, which would mean obviously he'd be living in an apartment by himself. And yeah. Anyway though, so besides from getting that, he would also get used to being around other humans. And also just battle and just also kind of besides and also just learning about the village's history, as that was one thing that the fight had told him that he would have to kind of catch himself up on to not really be that far behind. Yeah, stuff like maths was one thing that obviously dragons would also just naturally teach him, as it's just something that kind of anyone kind of just actually has to, or not has to, as your brain can pretty much do complex mathematics without you even knowing what 1 add 1 is. You don't need to know it to be able to do complex things like walk on 2 legs, because that requires your body's knowledge of its center of mass and other stuff like that. Anyway, so Naruto just read up kind of on the somewhat history and that, and he was somewhat looking forward to his first day somewhat in the kind of academy, because someone who's curious, would he learn potentially any new jutsu? He knew that he probably wasn't, as the 3 jutsu, transformation, replacement and clone jutsu, all 3 that he can do, and yes, he could do all 3, mainly because the dragons had truly went into explaining to him, or at least just how important chakra control was, or the ability to truly control one's inner energy. And so he could control his inner energy chakra to a very high degree, or in other words, he was around about low medicine level of chakra control. The main reason why is because the higher your chakra control, the more efficient a jutsu gets. Thus, the more efficient a jutsu gets, the more powerful the jutsu can get, with a slight bump in chakra to said jutsu, and also you overall just can last longer in a fight, which would pretty much mean, a 8-year-old Naruto could probably go, quite frankly, like in a jutsu only fight, he could go for probably a good nearly year before he'd run out. Plus, he also would have the natural his own natural sort of regeneration in that, so yeah, potentially may never run out, especially if he gets, perfect chakra control. He may just never run out because he's just incredible, each jutsu is using exactly the amount it requires, no more, no less. Anyway, so Naruto would arrive at the academy, which Hiruzen would be kind of waiting there, as he'd just for Naruto to come over, someone would, and they would start to, Hiruzen tell him that everyone, all his class is not all there yet, and that once all his class is there, he firstly introduces him to his academy teacher, sensei, for the next 4 years, and Naruto would sort of nod. He would go on to explain that at least 2 years from now, when he's 10, he could try and graduate early, though he's going to tell him that he would rather him, kind of stay in the academy before the extra 2 years, so that he can just, kind of make friends and that. And Naruto would sort of nod that, and plus it would also mean, obviously, 2 extra years would also mean that it would overall just be, have a higher chance of actually meeting his kind of family again. In other words, the Dragon Clan, he considers them, family, as that, or at least his contract was more of a delayed-esque type contract. Once it was currently, fully active, and he could easily summon them if he was in, a life or death situation, though. At that moment, they kind of had the deal that he wouldn't summon them until he's a 12-year-old boy who's a genin, an official genin. And only at that will he be able to, not be able to, but when, he could kind of summon them constantly. And, it's more of just something so that, because dragons are considered, legendary, mythical creatures, stuff that don't really exist, or maybe did once a long time ago, but no longer do. So they kind of want to keep that about them, for right now, as, it would just make their appearance even more legendary, or more epic, or that, or just, surprising, or inspiring, or I don't know, infuriating, I don't know. They either make you kind of have an extreme amount of hope or an extreme amount of fear, depending on which side, I guess, of the what person you are, either an ally or an enemy, good or bad, pretty much. Anyway, after they'd finished talking, they would somewhat kind of go into a quiet silence, a comfortable silence for around a good 5 or so more minutes, when Hiruzen would kind of tell him to follow him. So that he would, and as both would, as he would follow Hiruzen into the academy and to the teacher's kind of room. From there, Hiruzen would knock on the door. Oh no, Hiruzen wouldn't knock, he would just open it and walk in. He is pretty much the principal of the academy, the head well, yeah, in a way, the head teacher or head master. Yeah. Anyway, you'd tell Naruto to kind of wait there as he'd enter. After a bit, after a couple of seconds, Hiruzen would come out with another person. This person being his sensei, or at least his class sensei, Iruka. And they would, Hiruzen would then introduce obviously Naruto to Iruka and Iruka to Naruto, and yeah, they would talk for a bit as Hiruzen would obviously, go because he's got paperwork to, do and that. So, yeah. From there, though, Iruka would take him to the class and would tell him to wait outside the door and wait for him to just simply state that he can come in. Naruto would just nod at that, and yeah, Iruka would enter, and after doing the kind of registration, making sure someone who's meant to be there is, here, present in class, and if they're not, that, there's a reason why. And yeah. Anyway, after that, Iruka then told them that they'll be getting, or at least that today there'll be a new student joining them. Of course, almost immediately Kiba would kind of Kiba. If you haven't watched Naruto, then go watch it. But yes, Kiba and Izuku would immediately kind of pipe up and state that what it's unfair, and why does somebody get to kind of start somewhat 4 years into the academy and stuff like that. Though Iruka would simply state that he knows pretty much everything that they do. He was just kind of taught somewhat differently in that. Though Kiba, of course, and some of the other academy students wouldn't be all that happy that somebody could just join halfway through the year with yeah. And though of course from there though somewhat quietly quietly to the class, which was pretty much either just normal talking, mainly just was it a girl, was it a boy, and Iruka kind of just let drop as he couldn't finish, and before long he'd do his big head jutsu and kind of yell at everyone to quiet down. And he'd then turn his head towards the door and then just just kind of slightly shout out to come in, or a raised voice. And from there the door would slide open and Naruto would walk in. Of course, that would be a key difference from Ken Naruto and this Naruto. For one, he could do all 3 jutsus. Yeah. For a second, he would have obviously slightly larger reserves, but also a more feminine figure, due to more or less obviously dragons, and some dragons can shapeshift, so have a human form. Of course, dragons don't really need somewhat or at least like female dragon, they don't need milk and that, but humans do. Naruto did when he was a child, and so technically does due to the I forget what it's in the milk that we mainly need. I know it's for bones and that. I can't think of it. It's something that I know if it gets too high, my body doesn't have a fun time with it, so I have to be careful. I can't think of it. Anyway, so due to the fact they don't obviously need to drink milk, obviously the female dragons can produce milk, mainly for no real reason, just they can. And thus they pretty much have a kind of higher, they just have kind of high hormonal levels in, or at least hormones in the smart milk as well. in that form of milk. So yeah. Anyway, one of the hormones being estrogen, female, so he does look slightly more feminine, but not really by much. The only other thing, or at least that almost everyone would kind of consider him female, would also be his kind of longer hair. Main reason why is mainly the only it would somewhat prefer it longer, due to the only reason why would be due to the fact that it is a lot more controllable. In other words, it dents back in all directions, and yeah. And well, yeah, so yeah. Though Naruto could done is somewhat kind of like read our eyes, and you'd simply state before I even introduce myself, yes, I am male. And they would some of the boys, keeper one of them, would just stare somewhat in shock. And yeah, of course, some of the girls would even be somewhat surprised that someone that looked so feminine to them, was actually a boy. Oh. Anyway, though, of course, though he would go and introduce himself, and yeah, and of course, 8 or so hours later, and the academy would be over. Naruto would go over to the Hokage's office and would tell Hiruzen just somewhat about his first day, and he would simply say that it was pretty much boring. And yeah, Hiruzen just would somewhat nod at that, not all that surprised at that. Yeah. And yeah, though one thing obviously was somewhat for sure, at least when they first met, Naruto would ask him if he knew who his parents were. Hiruzen had kind of told him that he did, but had also told him that, or at least he would, he would tell him who his mother is when he was a genin, an official ninja of Konoha, and then his father potentially at Chunin, if not Jonin, due to his father being his father being just a very, very well-known ninja, to say the least. Yeah. Though, of course, Naruto didn't have a clue about his mother, potentially. He had no clue on who his mother is. He did have an idea of who his father is, or at least, less of an idea and more he kind of knew it. He just didn't somewhat slightly want to ask. As that had to be that was a decently good reason why he, or at least, anyway, though he pretty much had an idea that his father was the fourth Hokage, right out, because both have, or had in Naruto's case, spiky hair. Technically he does, he just has to cut his hair. Both have bright blue eyes. Minto has tan skin. He somewhat did, but it's more it's more of a kind of light tanned, though it'd be considered creamy skin. It was more on the high end of it was more kind of you'd consider it a light tanned skin tone. Yeah. Anyway. And yeah. Of course, in those 4 years, every test they done to see, who would be the kind of rookie of the year, or just the overall kind of student of the year, Naruto would be at top. So pretty much Sasuke, since Sasuke joined the academy from for at least the first 4 years of the academy, he was the Rookie of the Year. Then, Naruto comes along and immediately, pretty much, just kind of truly shows him what it could mean to be the Rookie of the Year, being even more. Well, yeah, he could easily beat Sasuke after all. Somewhat he used to, somewhat fight with dragons, and dragons were a lot more rougher in their fighting and that. More so as, any potential, or at least, hit or bite could be the thing that kills you. So, being strong and kind of rough playing allowed you to overall get somewhat stronger and also somewhat more resistant to pain, as pain was just something that, while it's good to know when, hey, kind of like, there's something wrong with my arm, it's hurting, it's good. It could also be an somewhat annoying thing, because you could have an insane amount of stamina, but if you're weak, to pain, you could literally just stab your toe and be there crying your eyes out, and somebody could come up and kill you. So, yeah, not good. So, yeah. Anyway. And, of course, yeah, before you knew it, the 4 years had gone by somewhat on the slow side, and it kind of had gotten a more sarcastic nature, or slightly more, mainly only when kind of the academy was going over what they already knew. He'd kind of get a somewhat kind of sarcastic nature to him. Yeah. And yeah. Oh, of course. Oh yeah. Anyway. And though currently you'd be sitting in class as a horde of fangirls kind of hoarded around, Sasuke fighting one another to try and sit by him, and he did have his own somewhat small-ish kind of fangirl club as well, mainly because nobody knew of the fact that he's the 9th Tsuchoki. Of course, he does know himself, as the drunkest did tell him when he was 7 years old. Yeah. Mainly due to the fact that he could potentially one day accidentally go, there's an odd, a more powerful energy inside of me, just pulls on it and accidentally, releases the freaking 9 tails or something like that. So, yeah. Anyway, oh yeah, though as the fangirls obviously tried, to sit by Sasuke and that, Naruto would think about what team he would be on. Why? Well, because today was the day in which they would find out on what team they would be on. As about 2 days ago was the Genin graduation test. Though his mind was telling him that it was kind of too easy, and he'd guessed that that it was a 2-part test. One, to see if you can, do the more kind of mental aspects of a Genin, and then the second part, which would be as a team of potential 3, probably going against their sensei or whatever, to see if they actually have the skills to become a ninja. That made the most sense in his mind. And yeah, though he'd be running through everyone that he knew in the academy, in his class, and kind of putting them in teams of 3, as that's what he's kind of seen about 3 Genin and 1 Jonin. There was no real exception besides from Chunin and Jonin, but they were higher ranked ninjas. Or if 2 teams came together, then 6 Genin to Jonin. So yes. Anyway, though he did eventually. Though he did also, of course, through reading history books and that, he did learn that Rookie of the Year, him, himself, would be paired with the worst student of the year, and my worst student, aka the dead last of the year, and the Kunoichi of the year. That would mean he'd be paired up with Sakura Hano and Kiba Inuzuka. But he also had a slightly sneaky suspicion that that may not be, due to the fact that there were 7 technically 6 kids that were representing the clan, as Sasuke's clan was technically Sasuke was, or at least the Uchiha clan no longer pretty much existed, so yeah. Anyway, so technically there were 6, and in actual reality there were 8. He didn't know it himself, but he was from a clan, the Uzumaki clan. And yeah, anyway. And, well, yeah, he's somewhat new, but he'd probably more than likely be paired up with Sakura. Hopefully, maybe not Sasuke, but he could also see that happening as well. Mainly due to the fact that teammate would most definitely be Hinata Hyuga, Shino Aburame, and Kiba Inuzuka. Why? Well, because they would be the best 3 for tracking. One, to be able to track someone by via chakra, and also an all-round, near 360-degree field of view. And yeah, one obviously can track with that bugs, and others, if they capture an enemy and it tries to get away, the enemy can put a bug on someone to you, and the bugs in their body can track said bug. And yeah. And lastly, the Inuzuka, which could track down enemies via scent. And yeah, so that kind of made sense. Next was Team 10 in the Secret trio. That, all 3, from all 3 from the clan. All 3 from 3 different clans that worked very well together. Nara's, Akamichi, and the Yamanaka. Yeah, if all 3 are if all 3 have a child, children the same year, then they would be put on the same team. So that made sense. And then the other teams run through 6 would most definitely be civilian-based teams. So that pretty much put Team 7 as a kind of mix of both civilian and clan-based team. And yeah, as it was just the best, the worst, and the 2 best female, best male, and worst male/female. Though how it was technically meant to go was best male, best female, and worst of the year, then Team 8 was technically meant to be the second best, second worst, second best male, second best female, second worst male or female, and then Team 10 third best. And yeah, but of course that's how it was technically meant to go. If it actually went like that was a whole nother thing. Probably most of the time potentially most of the time, but there was definitely exceptions to that rule. Probably also good chunks of the time. After all, it's Konoha. It was less of a hidden village and more of a hidden, probably small city. And yeah, it was definitely no village. It was definitely more of a city due to being the largest hidden village. Anyway, yeah, though, as you'd somewhat wait for Iruka, just ponder, and whilst he'd rather not be really with Sakura, mainly because Sakura is a huge Sasuke fan, go to the point where she's tried almost countless times to someone hit him, which is stupid, because if he can send Sasuke into the land of the dreams, then she's gonna have no chance out. no chance in hitting him. So yeah, kind of stupid. Yeah. Plus, Sasuke was an arrogant jackass that kind of blown him off, mainly because, Sasuke respected, obviously strength in that. And yeah, and he kind of had an unique, Sasuke kind of saw Naruto as someone who, someone to obviously beat, as if he couldn't beat Naruto, then he couldn't go and, face down his brother, pretty much. And yeah, and so from that, of course, time would go by as Iruka would end up entering, and after trying to speak a couple of times and failing, he would yell at them to shut the hell up and sit down. The females would freeze and immediately run to seats. And yeah, from there, Iruka would then start kind of, congratulating them on all passing, and that, they become potentially, kind of, incredible shinobi in the future and stuff like that. And after a while, he would then start kind of naming teams. And much to his dismay, when Team 7 came up, he'd be put with Sasuke and Sakura. And yeah, though another thing he did also somewhat to know was that each team was taught by the previous Team 7. That's just kind of how it went with Team Number 7. Team 8 and 10, Team 10 had something similar like that, with each Team 10 sensei, not Team 10 sensei, but with each Inishikuro trio being a, I can't think of that name. I think, maybe, no, I don't think it would, so no, it would only be Team 7. Yeah, so, Team 7 would be the only team, or at least one of the potential, previous Team 7 members would teach the next generation of Team 7, mainly because it was a legendary team. The third Hokage and Kaharu and Hamura and Danzo, and and then that was obviously Hiruzen's Team 7, the three legendary Sannin, Jiraiya, Tsunade, Orochimaru. Then there was the Rise Team 7, Minato, a Uchiha, definitely an Uchiha, and someone else, 3 males. And of course, Minato's then Team 7 was Kakashi, Rin, and Obito. And Naruto would know that Minato, the 4th Hokage's team, there was only one survivor, with the 2 dying in the war. So that meant that Kakashi Hatake, the copycat ninja, and the ninja of the copycat ninja, Kakashi the Sharingan, or the ninja who's copied over Fajujutsu, would be his team's sensei. And yeah, he you knew somewhat the person was a legendary shinobi, but being technically legendary didn't necessarily mean they'd be a good teacher. Heck, for all that you knew, the person could be an absolute jerk, arrogant jackass for all that he knew. And yeah, and though of course he would after Iruka would list Team 7 and 8 and 10 off, he would then tell them that they'd have an hour to an hour break, and then from there he would obviously dismiss them and tell them to come back here to obviously meet their Jonin sensei. They would all nod, they would all say hi, and he would then dismiss them from that, Naruto would pretty much go immediately to the Hokage tower and would knock on the door, waiting for the third to kind of say come in. And seconds would go by as he'd knock once again, and there would be no come in, though he would kind of wonder as he'd go and somewhat sit down by the side. 10-15 minutes later, and the third would be kind of walking up and he'd blink. He'd go, Naruto, my boy, how can I help you? Naruto go, hi there, Hiruzen, so what, can I ask you a few things about my team sensei? Oh, you have an idea on who your sensei is, do you? Naruto would go, I'm pretty sure I know exactly who my sensei is. Hiruzen would just kind of crack an eyebrow, but would nod and would gesture him in as he would open up the as he would unlock and open up the door. The course for Armbu Shadow and the third would also be somewhat curious. And yeah, when after they would sort of enter and the Naruto shut the door, and with Hiruzen kind of sitting down in his sort of chair, and Naruto sitting across from him in the seat in front of his desk, in front of the third's desk. Hiruzen would go, so then, my boy, who do you think, who do you believe your sensei to be? Kakashi Hatake, the shinobi of 1,000 jutsu. Hiruzen would go, good guess, and you are correct. Naruto, though, what led you to kind of finding, or at least him, or knowing, or at least someone he would be your sensei? Because or at least my team's number 7, and that, or at least in the history books, every member of Team 7 has always been taught, or at least since your team, you're the first ever generation of Team 7, your team, Hiruzen, ever since somewhat your team, there's always been a team there's always been a member of Team 7 to train the next generation of Team 7, and with Kakashi Hatake being the only survivor of the fourth Hokage's team, I thought it was pretty obvious. He's in mid-to-much check and the nod, so that makes quite a lot of sense. That Naruto. Yeah. So, what would you like to know about Kakashi-san? Though, do know I won't tell you everything, as it is after all somewhat, his life. It's Naruto just nod and kind of ask him, well, what type of person is he? Is he like kind of an arrogant jerk or that? And Hiruzen somewhat jerk as he'd go, well, I won't say he's arrogant. I would say maybe slightly, but he definitely won't kind of, show it, really. Though he tends to be 3 hours late, though that's mainly due to his own kind of unique way of dealing with, somewhat his past and, losing his team. Naruto would not doubt that. And yeah, overall he's a fine shinobi and one whom I could see you grown very strong under. Granted, once he probably gets out of his kind of mode, that's you'd crack an eyebrow and go, what do you mean by that? As Hiruzen would concern and go, well, whilst most people won't, whilst almost everyone can't see it, Kakashi is someone who's somewhat depressed, and well, yeah, so yeah, if your team manages to kind of depressify him, kind of, give him a lot more to live than just to become than just be a shinobi to protect Konoha and its next generation. Then he may be able to truly start kind of teach and use, in such a way that will make use, Ashram by the time, I don't know, by the time you're 14, 15 years old. He's a shinobi that's got a lot to teach. He just kind of is not in the right mindset at the moment. Naruto just nod at that. And yeah, with that they'll talk a bit more, but not really about Kakashi, and mainly just about, or at least that Naruto would end up asking Hiruzen if there was indeed a second part to becoming a genin, as he would point out that the first part was kind of mainly all mental and making sure you can throw straight and that, not really shinobi like. So yeah, Hiruzen would kind of just nod, and Naruto was clearly someone who could truly look underneath the underneath, but to such extent that it was more like the underneath of the underneath of the underneath. He pretty much could break down something to its core principles. Similarly, he broke it down to such level so that he can understand it. And yeah. Anyway. Yeah, after that they would go back to the academy, and he'd know that his sensei would potentially be late. So when he'd go back after eating lunch, he'd bring a somewhat book with him. And also throughout the 4 years of his academy, or at least Iruka had kind of asked Naruto why he kind of, some of the girls had, told, not really girls, but Iruka had kind of commented to Naruto that he should really kind of cut his hand. Naruto asked why, and Iruka had simply told him that, his shinobi could obviously grab it, and that didn't have to point out then, why can't then, he'd go, then why do girls have it strong, then why do girls have their hair long? Yeah, and it's clear, they can easily fight without, that issue, so, it's not a female thing only. So, yeah, pretty much put up a good enough argument, pretty much definitely good argument, and Iruka had left them alone. Yeah, anyway, though, with that, guys, I'm going to leave it here. So, if you want to know, I will pretty much gloss over the, interaction, the initial interaction and the genin, the test, the bell test. I will kind of gloss over that, as I'm kind of, obviously it's early stages, it kind of gets boring. After listening to it over sometimes, sure, Naruto can use all three jutsus, yeah. Anyway. So yeah, guys, if you have enjoyed this, do tell me in the comments down below. And yeah, as I said in the beginning, the reason why this is somewhat on the slightly short side is due to the fact that I'm kind of somewhat tired, but I'm mainly tired due to some back pain that was caused from kind of swapping my computer from one computer case to another. I went from a mid-tower computer case or PC case to a 4-tower PC case. The difference in them was that my mid-tower case, at least having a completely hand-built custom water-cooling loop for the CPU in the mid-tower case, was heavy enough to be, the 4 towers is the exact same as weight as that, but with it empty, so it's pretty heavy, and I kind of ended up kind of hurting my back. Well, it's not really hurting, it's just like stiff muscles and that from leaning over constantly. Yeah, anyway, I'll be fine. So yeah. Anyway, guys, hope you guys have a good day or night, depending on wherever you are and whenever yours is, and good